My husband, 27 meters, keeps being confronted by people who think he's a pedophile. I'm older than him. So I've noticed lately that when I walk with my husband and our son, we get dirty looks from people, and I didn't know why for the longest time. Be there for your husband. That can really get to you if it happens repeatedly. Less than. Your poor husband. I was at a Bryan Adams gig with my sister-in-law and the same thing happened. She is 4'9" and very petite, while I was about 5'10" at the time. She was 26, I was 15. She is 11 years older than me, but yet I was the pedophile. Of course, it doesn't help when she was clearly drunk and on my shoulders screaming at the top of her voice for much of the gig. She loves Bryan Adams. It was funny when she told people our ages and that her husband, my older brother, was serving in Bosnia at time as a peacekeeper, that people suddenly wanted to buy us drinks and be our friends. I hope you lead the charge in getting these dumb, aggressive, white knight losers kicked out of these businesses for starting fights. My Bill got bitched out at a grocery store by a Karen. He was with his adult daughter from a previous marriage, who was carrying my infant niece, who was her half-sister. Karen told my Bill he was a dirty old man and that he should be ashamed of himself for having such a young wife. My Bill admitted to being a dirty old man but told the lady that both girls were his daughters. This really pissed Karen off, so she told him he was too old to have an infant. He replied, "Thanks for your opinion, sir. I'm a woman," she screeched back at him. "Huh? Really? Honest mistake. Have a good one." Greater than at a grocery store by a Karen. He was with his adult daughter from a previous marriage, who was carrying my infant niece, who was her half-sister. Karen told my Bill he was a dirty old man and that he should be ashamed of himself for having such a young wife. My Bill admitted to being a dirty old man but told the lady that both girls were his daughters. This really pissed Karen off, so she told him he was too old to have an infant. He replied, "Thanks for your opinion, sir. I'm a woman." She screeched back at him. "Huh? Really? Honest mistake. Have a good one." When I first read this, I thought he said, "I'm a woman," and started howling. Then when I read it again to understand, it was even funnier. Thanks for making me laugh. My half-sister used to wear a ton of makeup in her late teens, was definitely considered a trendy look at the time, so people would think she was older than she was. So whenever she and our dad went anywhere with my brother when he was a baby and my mom wasn't with them, people always assumed my half-sister was our dad's wife and our brother was their son. Of course, this was back in a time where apparently it was more socially acceptable for older men to have very young wives. Ew. My dad old also would mess with these people when they would compliment him on his beautiful young wife and baby and act like he was super offended, and how dare they say those things about his daughter holding her baby brother. Plus my sister would go off like, "Ew, that's my dad. How could you make such a gross mistake?" Open mouth smile. Then they'd laugh after the person left extremely embarrassed and apologetic. Although, my dad used these stories to say that he really was a good, youthful-looking guy when he was younger. Smirk. Of course, same brother as an adult now gets grossed out and embarrassed when he goes someplace with our mom, who looks amazing for her age, or aunt, and people assume they're married. Open mouth smile, open mouth smile, open mouth smile. My other half-sister, who is also much older, and I shared similar coloring when I was growing up. So if I went anywhere with just her, people always assumed I was her daughter, and my sister truly got so upset at the time, yelling, "That's my sister." I figure it was because her mom kind of them Catholic, so she was upset people thought she was a teen mom. She laughs about the whole thing now. Get a t-shirt that says, "I'm 28 inches long." Seriously, what a hassle. This is such an awesome response and idea. Maybe a photo of the birth certificate on the back? Oh no. No point in encouraging people to steal your personal data. Matching couples shirts that say, "Born 1995, born 1996."
Make it say, "I'm older than my husband, so you don't need a new one every year."
I am so older by a year and have had people ask if I'm his daughter. The last time was about 4 to 5 years ago when I was firmly in my mid-30s. I am short with a baby face and he started going gray early. I think it's finally stopped, but I still get carded a lot, but oddly never when I'm with him. I really hate the people who equate age with height. I doubt it's just her height.
Her facial features, voice, fashion style, etc., probably combine to make her look like a teenager. There are no shortage of average height people that get mistaken for younger than they are because of their face.
Her height isn't the cause. It's just making the other things worse.
Wonder if these people think I'm retired just cause I'm a 6'1" woman?
I have no idea what you mean. You said people equate age with height. Meaning the shorter the woman, the younger they are. Vice versa. Taller the woman, the older they are.
That's what the other person was implying.
Ooh, I get it now. I got pulled over with my GF in the passenger seat because the cop thought I might be kidnapping a child. He was surprised to find out she's 3 years older. To be fair, I was driving a windowless panel van for work when we were pulled over.
Lol, you had someone who looked like a kid in a windowless van?
Ha 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 ha. She made the long trip days with me for years and we had no problems until that day, lol. Do cops in your area randomly pull over any vehicle with someone who looks like a minor in the passenger seat?
Why do people make up stories for internet upvotes? Cops can't just pull someone over because they feel like it. That's a huge risk to their job because anyone can take them to court.
I'm 10 years older than my husband and have been mistaken for his daughter. Twice. What a nice compliment, rolling on the floor laughing. It felt oddly nice. And creepy.
At the time, I was 43, and he was 33.
He freaked out the first time. Now he's just used to people believing I'm younger than him. And getting carded if we are together. Or a huge insult, depending on perspective.
Where is the insult?
I think you are using that word very lightly. A mistake is a mistake. It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek remark on the fact that they could just be saying her husband looks old. Lol, when I was 24 I was dating a girl who was around 4 feet 10 minus 5 feet 0. Can't remember. And we actually recognized early on people thought she was much younger than I was. But in reality, she was 28. Tears of joy.
To be an ass one day. She went out of her way to purchase a child's movie ticket at this ticket kiosk and didn't tell me until right before we went to show our tickets to the attendant.
The attendant was so confused at first, and then just let out a loud, ooh. It was so uncomfortable.
But she ultimately let us through and we made our way to the concession box. About 5 minutes later, right before we are set to order, a public safety officer, cop, tapped me on my shoulder and pulled us to the side, immediately requesting her ID, skull and crossbones. Worst day of my life, was too funny looking back on it. But in the moment I was horrified.
OMG, that is nuts. Tears of joy. Did you stay with her? Honestly, I had someone confront me, 26M, and complain that I should be in school and not skipping. I'm standing there, in my Forest Service uniform, and straight up said, I graduated from college 3 years ago and this is my actual job. A friend of mine worked for the National Park Service, and then for the Bureau of Land Management. In his case, the holstered firearm on his hip, when he worked for BLM, would have been the clue that the uniform was real. Smiley face.
My case was funny because I had just stepped out of a Forest Service truck, with the logo and everything in it. How is it that someone immediately jumps to, older man grooming a child, rather than, dad hanging out with his kid that doesn't completely hate him? Unless you regularly make out in public, how would anyone tell the difference? These people have no experience in the real world in which people have a wide variety of looks and mannerisms.
I'm sure many of the people who have these judgments look at the op as childlike, therefore in need of being protected. I can't tell you the number of times people assume I'm a certain person and age, and when they find out I'm not that person they blame me or are chagrined like it's my fault. Those people are becoming more and more moronic by the day.
The way parents interact with their kids and partners interact with each other is wildly different, even in a body language sort of way.
A lot of times it's easy to tell.
There were people who thought my sister and I were dating, and the only reason they had was we apparently got along too well to be siblings. That's it. That was the only reason anyone who assumed that ever said. No awkward pause, no hemming and hawing, just absolute firm assertions we got along too well.
I don't trust strangers' judgment or criteria about this kind of thing. I had a friend who went somewhere with his GF and his dad. He went back to the car to get something and came back to his GF and dad being scolded by an older woman speaking broken English. They couldn't quite understand her, but later they put together that she must have thought his GF and his dad were dating. Some people don't have good people reading skills for a variety of reasons. I mean, true, but it was a lot of people. In a small town where we were also frequently referred to as, our mom's name, kid. Like nothing about the situation makes any sense.
Seriously, being told there's no way you're siblings just because you're having a conversation like people do with their friends is already wild. The amount it happened almost made me feel like I had to be in a TV show.
Sure, it is easy to tell.
Unless you've been hyped by a segment of society that sees human trafficking and pedo whenever they see people together who apparently aren't the same age.
Because the general view of society is that men are always doing something wrong, even if they are not. I mean, there are a number of gestures between two people that may differentiate the way a husband and wife interact from a father and daughter. There are many other intimate forms of affection that one can show in public besides making out. How many 27-year-olds have 15-year-old kids? IDK, but I don't see the son's age in this at all. She is 27 and her husband is 26, so even if she did have a 15-year-old son and he is the father, they both were too young to be doing what they were doing. They would look very similar, share facial features and so on, and their body language would be completely different if it was father and daughter. Way to exclude adopted kids from society. Saint Fu. Maybe if you dress like a little old lady, then men will just think he's into great grannies? Threaten to call the cops for harassment. There's no excuse for random people to act on conclusions like that. Get a fake beard and wear it to confuse people even further. Best to have one on hand if there's a public stoning to go to later on. I know the feeling. I'm in my 40s and look like I'm in my 50s. My wife is a few months older than me and looks like she's 19. I get the looks but never any comments. I'm a big dude with a bad case of resting dick face. Oh, lovely. My daughter is 4 feet 8 inches. At 19. She is finding it hard to get a job. Quit one at an old folks' home because they would not stop harassing her and accusing her of being 13 to 14. Order a set of 500 business cards that say, "He's not a pedo, I'm just short." Now kindly F off, and just hand them out. The premeditation should help expedite things. I'm 25 and my husband is 28. He looks older and I look younger than I am. We were grocery shopping and some random lady asked me if I was okay. I was confused and told my husband the next item we needed. She saw I was alone and asked me if I know him and went on to say that if I need help she will help me get away. I told her I'm fine, that he's my husband, and she refused to believe me. Husband came back and I gave him a kiss. I told him that this sweet lady was concerned for my safety, but I think I should be fine now that my husband is back. She left me alone after that. My partner's dad's friend saw a photo of us, never having met me, and immediately said to his dad, isn't she a little young for him? So he informed him we have a whopping 1-year age difference. Tears of joy, can't lie, though it did make me like the friend instantly. Good looking out dude. I'm going to tell my best friend who is 4 feet 11 that she's lucky that her boyfriend, 6 feet 1, doesn't get yelled at this way. This is pure terror, considering someone may decide to give him a punch or worse based on assumptions. I'm even in a more peculiar place. We're both 74, but some people think wife is my mother. My wife is fit and healthy, but I just have the genes that make me look younger,
It pisses my wife off, which upsets me. My husband and I have friends like that. They are the same age, but the wife looks so much older. The husband has the smooth, ageless skin that some black people have, and longish, curly, oiled hair.
She looks older. I am 6 years older than my husband. We got pulled over once over a decade ago when we were dating. I was 30 at the time, he was 23.
Cop did not believe I was over 18.
He kept asking my age, made me recite my DL address, etc. multiple times. More than once he asked how I knew the man I was with and if I was there of my own accord.
The look on his face when he finally asked my, then, BF for his DL and saw I was older was priceless. He acted like he was kidnapping a child.
Are you here of your own accord?
No sir, this is a Camry.
Open mouth smile, open mouth smile, open mouth smile.
Cops like that damned a-holes.
Like they don't have real criminals to go after. I'm okay with cops out there making sure kids aren't being trafficked. He was wrong in this case but looking out for her.
Lol, I love this.
I'm 4 years older than my boyfriend but he is turning gray. I look younger, for now, at least he says so. I think I will age poorly though in comparison considering he has dark skin and I'm pasty.
Lol. This whole pedophile manhunt is going way too far.
What I find funny is how they assume this but when someone comes forward about it, they get called a liar.
Maybe not funny but annoying.
I think you mean ironic. Yes. And annoying. I'm in Op's shoes. I'm older than my BF but he gets accused of being a creep.
Then when they find out I'm older they call me a creep.
I'm literally like 11 months older.
It's BS.
Oh, that's horrible you go through that. These idiots going nuts over the smallest age gaps are effing idiots.
What do they want?
For people to matched by, only if you share the exact same birth date because if there's even 1 day different equals pedo. Man facepalming. For a while, I dated and then lived with someone who was, exactly, * 12 years different in age than I am. But we didn't look that far apart, so we didn't get any weird looks, or at least not that I noticed. But the two of us could certainly tell the difference. It is disgusting unless you were born on the same day. I think people don't like the idea of someone being taken advantage of. I'm lucky I used to get confused for someone younger than I am, but most people listened. Although I did have 2 instances of showing ID to get someone to back off. Also a quick joke or 2 helped as well. I.e., yeah my parents look way younger while smiling my butt off grin.
What the op described isn't anything new.
I remember dating a 4 feet 10 inches girl in high school and heard weird comments a few times from strangers while walking downtown in a big city. It's not a manhunt. It's a way of eliminating cultural and social enemies of the far right.
Anyone they don't like gets accused of being a pedo, and then they pick few examples to say everyone is, even if the rate is lower than in the average population. Does anyone really think drag queens reading books to kids are pedos? Maybe some idiots, but the far right knows what they're doing. They're targeting the most controversial examples because they're trying to cast the whole LGBTQ community as harmful, and there's no better way to do that than to moral panic about children and gender. They've done this before.
The gays are pedos and can't be trusted near children accusation was a common right-wing tactic in the 60s to 90s to stoke anti-gay violence.
Remember, just because society is getting more progressive doesn't mean these people are.
A library in Lancaster, Pennsylvania had to cancel drag queen reading today for a bomb threat. "He isn't a pedo, he is just gay," was the defense Nickelodeon employees had for Brian Peck. Sometimes folks can be both. Sure, but seeing the right accuse every gay person or trans person, any such accusation coming from the right wing is useless and meaningless. If they wanted to be taken seriously, they should stop crying wolf 15 times every lunch hour for political gain. Really? Are you so oblivious to the left calling everyone on the right a Nazi?
The basket of deplorables? Get the fuck out of here with blaming someone's political view as the problem. The problem is that people like you instantly judge people by their political view. Seems like profiling to me. But whatever. If they agree with you, all is good. They have done this before, just like Biden called integration a racial jungle.
Just like Biden bragged about the 1994 crime bill. Or the fact that Clinton, Biden and Obama are all against gay marriage when it benefited them politically. Nobody give a shit about what adults do, just let kids be kids. There is zero reason for someone other than the parent to talk about sex with kids. You do that, you are absolutely a pedophile. And discussing reproduction is totally different than talking about sex. Pedophiles that act on their urges should be shot on sight. End of story. Don't fucking care if they are part of your community, or feel bad for their actions. The minute they abuse a child, they should be executed. Those that have urges and don't act on them. Massive respect, because that would suck. Greater than really? Are you so oblivious to the left calling everyone on the right a Nazi? The basket of deplorables? Get the fuck out of here with blaming someone's political view as the problem. It's because the right is sitting at the table with a lot of Nazis. If you guys would turn down the volume on the dog whistles, you might not get called Nazis so much, but then you also wouldn't be winning any elections without the Nazi vote. Precisely. Deleted. You suck. Deleted. The topic didn't involve politics, but the issue is deeply connected to it. Regardless of whether everything they said was true, it's a very provable fact that labeling people as pedophiles on little to no evidence has become incredibly common in recent years, and it gained a lot more traction due to usage in the political sphere. Q didn't predict that. My daughter and her fiancé are the same age, but she looks 13 and he looks 30. My wife is 2 years older than me and I started graying very early in life. I have gotten dirty looks and outright accusations of misconduct. Far worse reactions than that whenever people find out we started dating when I was 17. People generally think I'm 5 to 10 years older than her, so you do the math on what people conclude. I genuinely think the only reason I haven't been physically attacked before is that I am 6 feet 2 inches and 300 pounds of farm boy muscle. Unfortunately, even if that holds them back, their view of us is made worse by her being 5 feet nothing and half Hawaiian. My dad's 6 feet, my mom was 4 feet 11 inches and 96 pounds when they got married. But she's actually 5 years older than him. I can only imagine what might have happened to them. Her mom was like 5 feet 3 inches and her dad was also 6 feet. My partner is 6 feet and I'm 5 feet 1 inch. It seems to run in the family. This is me with my GF. I am older, but I look way younger and we get people looking at us like I'm a sugar baby. I feel you, my wife is exactly 6 months older than me, yet I'm the old man lol. I've been accused like your husband. It also doesn't help that my wife looks like she's 16 and sounds young too. People get real apologetic when they find out. My wife is 3 years younger than me but she's half Asian. I got asked why I wanted a king bed for me and my daughter at a hotel. Good God, that would make me uncomfortable. My partner is a year younger than me but she has a bit of baby face and blonde hair, and that's enough to get us weird looks sometimes. We don't even really look that different in age. It really did make us uncomfortable. I couldn't figure out why she kept asking if I wanted 2 beds instead of 1 and I finally said, why do you keep asking, when I reserved a king? She said, I thought your daughter would like her own bed. And I just stared at her and said, my wife and I sleep together, thank you. The embarrassment on her face was hilarious, though tears of joy. Deleted. I had girlfriend in my late 20s that was the same age as me, but the situation that Opt describes happened fairly frequently. She looked younger than she was and I looked older than I was, so we would get dirty looks. Never got confronted, just the side-eyed looks. I didn't know why at first, but every now and then when we were in public, out of nowhere she would just grab my arm, spin me around and just lay a big ol' full makeout type kiss on me. Like, I didn't mind, whatever, my girlfriend.
D is kissing me, no big deal.
I found out eventually that when she would see somebody giving us the stink eye, she would do that just to make them uncomfortable. I laughed at first, but then I got to thinking there were probably 24 or so people that went home and told others that they saw a teenage girl kissing a 35-year-old man at the store, even though we were both 27 or 28 at the time. I'm not a tall guy. 5 feet 7 inches, 34 meters. My fiancée is going to be 36F this year. She is very petite and shorter than me. I get comments like this from a lot of people. Been with her for 17 years. The comments get old, but whatever. I would not do well, as I would tell people where they can go. Seriously, go ahead and call the cops. Oh wait, here, let me do that for you.
If I were you, start yelling about them being hateful towards a little person. If you make a huge loud deal, I bet most would slinker away embarrassed. Why can't people mind their own goddamn business? Because if this actually was a child, people would be saying, why doesn't somebody help her? Unless you actually see them being sexual, you should still mind your own business.
I'm 33 and have a 16-year-old sister. Should I not be allowed to be in public with her? Because groomers don't wander around in public to be questioned by strangers all day about the person they're grooming.
Seems pretty obvious to me. Well, protecting children from being sawed is arguably pretty important. Just a shame people can't go about it more tactfully or respectfully.
If this was an actual minor with an adult, people would be calling them bad people for not intervening. They went about it the wrong way, and it's no doubt frustrating for op, but let's not pretend that that attitude doesn't have its place. I mean, I get what you're saying, but wouldn't you also say, why didn't anyone do anything? If it was like a 15-yo with a 30-yo. Right, because groomers wander around in broad daylight with their victims to get questioned by random people all day. I see you really thought that one through. I've gotten it a couple times. Granted, I'm 23 and my girlfriend is 22, but I'm a super tall dude, and sometimes if I buy her too many drinks at a bar together, people will ask if she knows who I am. How tall are you? Just start wearing, class of 14, or whatever, gear all the time, lol. Thanks. Just made me feel old because I had to do the math. They'll just assume it's the guys. I thought that too, but I was imagining like a woman's fitted shirt or something like that. If she's that much smaller, maybe they'd understand the difference? But yeah, they probably still would. Class of 27. This happened pretty frequently with me and my now wife when we started dating. We were both in our 20s at the time, but she is also small and looked pretty young. I got lots of dirty looks and offhand comments. At one point, a guy approached the doorman, who we knew, at our neighborhood bar, essentially saying I was getting a minor drunk to take advantage of her. Doorman guy was like, no, they're fine, trust me. The guy almost got kicked out himself, he was so insistent. Unfortunately, the only thing that stopped it was getting older. Very different, but when I was 26, I applied to work at a bookstore. The girl working there seemed younger than me but handed me an application along with a form for children between 15 to 17 to get their parents' permission to work. Then I got a job at a grocery store for about 6 months, and for the first month different managers, assistant managers would come up to me and say, "You have the wrong name tag. We need to get you the one for people under 18 since you can't legally sell alcohol or tobacco." Now I'm in my early 30s and I don't get that treatment, but I do get the loud gasps when I tell people my age. At 33, about to be 34, they now assume I'm around 25. I've worked in IT for almost 8 years now, and it's felt like older coworkers don't take me seriously because to them I look like I'm fresh out of college. I get comments about being green or inexperienced all the time, but I've been working since I was 15 and have nearly a decade of experience in my industry. It's a weird feeling, low. I hope you take another commenter's advice and start making a scene about people assuming you're too young when they approach your husband. Your situation sounds very stressful. If I were you, I'd tell them that you are a child prodigy. Lol. But I've had gray hair since 19. Honestly, weird and annoying after you clarified.
I understand being a concerned person, but harassing someone?
I hope they stop doing that to you guys.
Yes, please call the cops so I can get it on file that I am actually 30 and people will leave us the hell alone.
Oh dude, I feel for your husband.
A few years back I dated a girl who at 28 looked 17/18.
She was not naturally my type, but over friendship, feeling developed.
It didn't help that she had re-enrolled in college to finish her degree. This was a full-grown, but 4 feet 10 inches, woman, divorced, with a kid the same age as mine. I was 30 at the time.
I very much look my age. Didn't help that I'd pick her up from class sometimes. The looks were intense. Overall, she is a pretty sweet person, so no regrets, bu.
Definitely awkward.
I was a tiny guy and looked extremely young for my age.
When I was 26, I could not buy a beer at a bar with ID. At 33, I had an important job at a nuclear power plant job and worked with very big and tough welders, pipe fitters, and boilermakers. At first they looked at me as a boy, but when they learned that I knew what I was doing, I became their guy.
The boilermaker even passed the word that nobody could mess with me. I had a lifetime of looking very young for my age. I am an old man now and ook like an old man.
Not so bad, but long time ago I needed to pick my son from school. We didn't have a car, so we were waiting at the bus stop. A police car stops and us asks where we going. Where's our mom? No, I said, I'm his mom. He asked my son, who am I? My mom, he said. We had to show my ID. And his school ID. I was 33 and he was 14.
You didn't have to show shit. Right, but if you're the mom you just go ahead and explain it and move on. I don't get it. Even if you were younger, is it illegal for teenagers to ride the bus without a parent? This story doesn't make any sense. Truancy. The police probably thought they were skipping school. I'm 25 and my mom is 59. But being 6 feet 2 with a full beard, people think I'm in my 30s, and she looks like she's mid-40s. People have mistaken us for being a couple more than once and it's gross, but also funny when I break the news and people go, "That's your mom?" This is me and my mom, except I'm 34 and she's 54. My dad and I get some gross looks sometimes, the worst being the congratulatory smirk that he supposedly bagged a cute young woman. It doesn't help that he's always called me babe though. People have done this to my oldest and I so many times, including when I was visibly pregnant with his brother. He's 19 years older than his brother. He always says, "I'm not going out with you anymore, Mom," but he still does. Rolling on the floor laughing. My oldest son and I took a trip last year. He was worried about something similar, so we spent the entire trip going, my son, my mother.
It doesn't help that he's basically a clone of his father, whose photo is my phone lock screen. Same deal with my dad. We're both 6 feet 200 pounds men and many women. Sure, maybe men too, but they don't bring it up. Assume we're a couple because we look nothing alike. I look old and he looks young, etc. People have been visibly uncomfortable or upset at being wrong about it for whatever reason. Both of you are victims of stereotyping.
Stay strong and brave.
There are too many people that have skewed views of body types and are imposing them on both of you.
Ironic because the child sex trafficking industry is alive and well despite all these fucking Avengers around, protecting the children. Literally harassing random ass-grown couples.
As much as I hate to say this, if I was you, at this point, I would have fun with this.
And you do need to teach your husband to have a good time with it. You could even have a card printed up with birth dates, smiley face.
It's fun until one of them thinks he knows better than you and starts to take the law into his own hands. You're pretty much in the same situation my mom was in before my little sister was born. Not sure if it was a metabolism decline post-30 or post-second child, but she finally started looking like a proper adult after my sister was born. Just carry some bills with you, and if possible some debt.
Nothing says grown quite like bills and debt.
I thought this was only me.
I'm 2 years older than my husband, but he's a foot taller and has forehead wrinkles and resting disapproving dad face.
People have mistaken him for my father, insane because we are not the same ethnicity, and have also called the cops on us twice that we know of because someone saw a grown man getting intimate with a child. It's kinda funny, but we also had one very upsetting incident with it which I definitely could have gone without.
My best friend, old roomie, has an adopted daughter of a different ethnicity.
When said kid was a very young adult, they were going into a hotel elevator together and got seriously dirty looks from an old man of her ethnicity who was getting off the elevator. As the doors closed, my friend figured out what was going on and yelled out of the elevator, "She's my daughter." Dude thought it was a sex worker situation and was shaming her for it. *SMH.
I've got that look before.
Once, I smiled and waved at a kid that was staring me down in the checkout lane.
Mom pulled the kid close and kinda silently sheltered them. I just said, I barely hug my own kids and they're a lot cuter than that one. Get a t-shirt that says, I am older than he is, deal with it. Get a shirt that says, I'm actually 1 year older than him. I am the cradle robber. I still get treated like a child since I'm a 5'4" petite male. I'm so androgynous I get called by female pronouns. My new neighbors think I'm still a young teen even though I'm nearing 30 LMFAO. Go to the gym, bro.
Do some push-ups when you wake up.
If you're too lazy for that, just start eating Big Macs every day. Won't be petite forever. On you, my guy. Balls in your court. I work out and eat around 1.5 to 2.5k calories a day and worked at a doctor's clinic as a nutritionist. I'm not obsessive and I'm very happy with my body. Unlike most males who feel the animalistic urge to look like an Arnold L. Mao. I don't envy manly bodies in the slightest. I find gym bros ironically feminine when you really talk to them as well. Did you know flexibility is more important, useful than raw strength? 3. People are fucking stupid.
Unfortunately, you can't fix that.
LOL reminds me of some conversations I had with a friend.
Both of us confuse people because they have no clue how old we are.
She had so many terrible customer interactions, but one got me where she said this one woman came in with her kids and said something about how she'd be with kids when she got to her age. My friend still looks like a goth teenager and was like 30 at the time, and when the chick found out she was younger than my friend, she was offended and wanted to report her to her mama. Jeer. Lol, what are you going to report?
You got offended by a woman who is older and looks younger than you?
Rolling on the floor laughing, 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 heart rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing. I'm so sorry, that's completely disgusting. I'm 4 feet 11 inches and my husband is 6 feet 2 inches and we're both 34. He's never been approached by anyone thinking he's a pedophile. But my husband looks pretty young and I have giant boobs. Lol, never knew they were saving us from being accused of stuff like this. Once again, tits saved the day.
My partner has been called a cradle robber before but not a pedo. But they have been balding and have had a full face of hair since they were 15, whereas I still get asked what college I go to. We're 9 months apart in age.
Skull. This story screams fake though.
People don't attack you for looking older than your partner. They make comments or side-eye, but they ain't gonna attack a random stranger.
Though looking young really isn't the flex people think it is. It's honestly a hassle. That's terrible that people are that aggressive. People need to mind their own fucking business. That happens a lot when I'm with my daughter. She is a young-looking 20-year-old and I'm an old man. Just got to let it go and walk away. Yup, I'm older now, don't think it happens anymore, but when I was in my 20s, I saw the weird looks when I was out with my father. He would have been in his early 50s. I've read things like this before, from father and daughter perspectives. One dad had to get aggressive about it. It's bizarre that PPL can't even observe and discern. The concern, if appropriate, is just part of the era and understood, yet I still think I'd be able to notice a daughter and her father in public. Exactly. We walked all gapped and shit. Lol. Body language is just different. But when I started noticing, I started introducing my father and calling him daddy.
But I guess daddy doesn't mean anything anymore lol. SM has blurred boundaries and given the dents a bit too much entitlement, I say.
Right lol. Only person on this earth I'll call daddy. They'll just double down and say, he should really be with someone who looks the same age as him. The relationship police are always projecting. Always. I'm 30 and prematurely gray and I have experienced people questioning me although no one really confronts me. I'm a big-ass Samoan guy. Not with my wife but some people have thought wrong when I'm with my daughter who is 15. I have had the cops called on me a couple of times and it's irritating especially those couple of times I'm with my wife and kids.
Both my kids look like my mini-me.
These were the times where it actually angered me. I'm used to being treated as if I'm older than when it's Just me and my wife since despite her being 10 years older than me but I actually look 45 plus while she looks like she's in her late 20s, early 30s. Silver lining. These people care enough to be concerned. I think I prefer that over everyone turning a blind eye to what appears to be grooming, trafficking, pedo, etc.
That's not to downplay the frustration and certainly if these people are being threatening that can be exhausting. But honestly you can't help your genetics. You know your truth. This is why I don't date anyone under 5 feet 8 as I am 6 feet 4 myself.
People are so weird about everything these days. I fooled around with this girl years ago, she was 20 yo but was very petite. We really liked each other but we got so many weird looks in public and both decided it was no longer worth it to have everyone assume I'm some kind of predator. I'm 6 feet 2 and my wife is half my size. I don't give a shit what people think. She's only 5 years younger than me but we're both more than old enough. We have 2 kids. Even my older daughter is taller than her. And she's only 14. Dude. What? The fact that you care that heavily of what people think, and not even what they do think, what you assume they think, that you'll change the parameters of your entire dating life just to fit that assumption is absolutely more wild than being an assumed predator. I, 29 meters, am 6 feet, 240 bald with a beard. My wife, 28F, is petite 5 feet tall blonde gal. She's been mistaken for my daughter in the past. Always has to carry ID in case we go to dinner and she orders a glass of wine. Annoying sometimes, not as bad when we take our 4 kids with us anywhere but people should definitely not be confronting him. Wonder if Dutch people get the same looks when they date someone normal sized. Pretty soon they'll all be Arabic so no worries. Net immigration has slumped to a few hundred a year, and has even been negative in some years. Removed. Support for the FVD, the alt-right political party, is in decline. So, not full of Nazis. I am very confused by what you are trying to say here. You're thinking Sweden and Germany. Neither are Dutch or even speak Dutch. Nah, they have stopped it because everyone who said things like you turned out to be correct. There's not much you can do, op. The only thing I can suggest is changing your appearance a little. The change can be your clothes, your hair, or your makeup. My sister had the reverse going on with her and her husband. He is 7 years older than she is, and they got together when she was 21. He was 29, and with the long hair he had back then, he looked like a 16-year-old girl. 4 years into their relationship, he cut his hair short, and she straightened her curls. They looked like a 40-year-old cougar out with her 20-year-old boy toy. My wife is 10 years younger than me and is mistaken for my daughter often. I think it's funny, her, not so much. So when's your 21st birthday? Today. My fun-time activity girl is the same age as my son, 23. Whatever. Ew. Yeah. Well. Meh. She's an adult. I didn't hang out looking for a person so young. She reached out to me. I would expect if she wanted to go elsewhere she would. I mean, I could introduce her to my son. He's lonely. Let's face it, lady. You're banned from dating adults. You have to become a pedo. I'm sorry, but that's the rules of society. The downvotes for a joke. JFC, the people on this site are cunts. I see the sarcasm, I'll bring you back from the dead law. It's sad that I've seen people who legitimately believe this. I yesterday ran into a girl streaming on Twitch and she basically looks so young that she reminded me about 13-year-old nephew. But she's 24.
It's bizarre.
Removed.
You can just say autistic.
Saying acoustic doesn't make you seem like less of an asshole. And it's a rich insult coming from someone who can't detect sarcasm. I know I just felt like saying acoustic was funnier.
Maybe it's echolalia? Have you been assessed recently?
I mean I def have something like that, but this was of my own volition. Usually my repetition occurs out of weird impulse, like if I'm overly excited. I was just fooling around.
Usually people who throw out acoustic are asshole bullies. You seem pretty decent, so I apologize.
No need to apologize, it's fine. Jesus Christ, can we please stop projecting diagnoses on people? Haha. Sorry, didn't think I needed a S or J here.